Hi, my name is Erin and I'm a K-5 elementary music teacher in Northern Indiana, and I'm also the teacher author behind From Dairy Me to You. In my last video, I walked you through the steps that I take to get my kindergartners onto the Orff xylophones. I use a combination of exploration and play through stories and nursery rhymes to get them acclimated to the xylophones. But eventually, I do want to start working on some simple, basic mallet technique. One of my favorite resources for mallet technique is the book Mallet Madness by Artie Almeida, and it's right here. It's one of those classic elementary music resource books that never goes out of style. Now, I will say I don't rotate instruments in the same way that she suggests just because of the layout of my space, but I do appreciate how her lessons are structured and how easy they are to adapt to the classes. One of my first activities that I do with my students is her body conductor lesson out of here, and I'm going to demonstrate how it works. Now, the goal of the body conductor activity is to get the kids looking at me versus the xylophones. I tell them that I want to see their eyes, not their hair. And I also want them to practice different mallet techniques. And they do that by actually watching my feet. Now, I know you can't see my feet, but if I walk, they do alternating hands. If I jump, they do hands together. If I use my fingers and I go back and forth really quick, that is their tremolo. It's really fun because once they understand the basic of starting and stopping, following me, then I can play around with them. I might go really fast or really slow. I might jump once, then pause, jump twice, and pause again. Maybe I tiptoe fast, or maybe I go up the scale or down the scale. And the whole time, they're not concerned about what notes they play. They're concerned about watching me and making their hands match my feet. I also love using children's literature in the classroom, especially for xylophones. And one of the classic first books that I use is the book Jump, Frog, Jump. Now, this book is also featured in Mallet Madness as well as the kindergarten game plan book. But in this story, there's a repeated phrase, jump, frog, jump. So on day one, I read the story to them. And at first we do it with body percussion anytime that phrase comes up, jump, frog, jump. Afterwards, I ask them to notice how many times do we play? 1, 2, 3. And how we moved our hands. Hands together. On day 2, we will transfer that to the xylophones, and they focus on playing the correct number of times. Jump, frog, jump. Hands together. And because I have it set up in C pentatonic, they can explore different sounds, high sounds, low sounds, and because it's about a frog, they can jump around. Jump, frog, jump. If you want Mallet Madness, I have a link down below on where to find it. There are so many tried and true lessons, including lessons using children's books, and it's one of those books that I would recommend to any teacher. I also really like using nursery rhymes in the classroom, and one of my favorites to use is 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Now, some students know this as 1, 2, tie my shoe, or I think it was famous on TikTok or something, so some of the kids will automatically sing it. But regardless, it goes like this. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, a big fat hen. After they first learn it, we'll add the padding for the numbers. And then after that, I say, oh, that's too easy. Let's try, instead of padding on the numbers, let's clap on the words. 1, 2, tie my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, a big fat hen. Well, that was still too easy. So let's divide you guys into 2 groups. And then I'll say, this group over here, you do the numbers, the pats, and this group over here do the claps for the words. And we see if they can handle 2 parts at once. And then we always switch jobs. On the xylophones, I have them practice the 2 different parts separately. So for the numbers, that was patting, that's our hands together. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. So on and so forth. And then I'll have them try the words instead. And for that, they do alternating hands. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, tie my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. And so on and so forth. I don't have students try to play both techniques at once. I think that would be a little confusing. But I do want to put both parts together. So this is where it's fun because students get to make some choices and they get to have some discussion about what they like and don't like. So I have the students divide by low instruments and high instruments. And then I'll say, hey, let's have the low instruments play the numbers and the high instruments play the words. We try it. We see what we think, and then we switch jobs where the high instruments play the numbers, and the low instruments play the words. And then they discuss what sounded better and why. And there's not one right answer, but their conversations talking about the timbre is really helpful and really good for them. Another way you can split it up that the kids really like is doing woods versus metals. So maybe we'll try the metallophones and glockenspiels doing the numbers, and then the woods doing the words. Those conversations are really good because then you talk about long sustaining sounds versus short sounds. Now, once my students are feeling really confident, or maybe once they are in first grade or so, I like to slowly introduce my xylophone chant. I'll introduce it first with just body percussion before going to the xylophones, and I usually only teach a couple lines at a time. But all together, it goes like this. Big bars play the low notes. Small bars play the high notes. I can play from bottom to top. C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A. I can play from top to bottom. A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D, C. Hands together now, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alternating hands just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, there are 2 more lines to this chant. If I have my xylophone set up in diatonic, which I do not right now, I would add, I can slide up high, I can slide down low. But I don't ask students to do that if we're missing bars because they're likely to get caught. And if I have the bars set up in diatonic, when we go from bottom to top, we would say every note name, including the ones that are missing right here. This is a great warm-up because it gets us warmed up for the rest of our activities and we get to practice different techniques. Another way to get kids playing xylophones more often is within singing games. I've never really liked the out aspect of many kids' games, and I don't want students sitting around without anything to do. So often when a student's turn is done, whether they get out or their turn is finished, instead of sitting in the middle or sitting out, I have them go over to the xylophones first and play a bourdon, whatever bourdon we are working on that year. Sometimes for my younger students, I'll add little stickers over C and G and D and A just to help them aim their mallets. And this is great because I can have 4 students at any given time playing the xylophones before going back to their spot. And then I can really watch them and help them with their mallet technique. And I should mention, what if you don't have a lot of xylophones? Again, I only have 16 xylophones in my classroom and my class size ranges from 22 students to 35. So don't be afraid to have students partner up or try putting the xylophones in front of your rows and have kids rotate within the rows. Or maybe have a few xylophones in the middle of a circle while playing a game. It's not quite as effective since they don't get as much playing time, but to me, it's better than none. I really hope this mini-series on Orff xylophones has been helpful to you. I really encourage you to find your closest Orff chapter and attend a workshop, or even take a levels class this summer. These instruments can be amazing tools in your classroom, and going to a workshop or a class really helps you find your music teacher community and lots of inspiration. Whether you have 3 weeks left of school or a month and a half left, I hope this video helps you wherever you are. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure that you don't miss the next video. And happy musicking!